As an artist, Ivanlam is known as a risk-taker and innovator, as seen through his paintings. His practice is characterized by the pure physicality of his chromatically charged, resin-glazed canvases. However, other than painting, sculpture and performance art is an artistic skill that Ivan has developed over his extensive journey, pushing beyond the two-dimensional and into the three-dimensional lived spaces. In his 2017 body of work, Curating Human Experience 660606, Ivanlam takes on the complex art form that is performance art, embedding his own inquiry with a specific intent around the nature of experience and perception. At first glance, Ivan's move to performance art seems to be a radical departure from his previous work. However, upon closer examination, some of the attributes that permeate his earlier works, such as the multifaceted nature of his subject matter and the diversity of his artistic, cultural, and literary influences, supported by his intellectual and methodical rigor, are prevalent too. Present also is the familiar exploration in dichotomies, visually, linguistically, and thematically. The performance involves the artist sitting in a chair at Wei-Ling Contemporary for a period of 66 hours, 6 minutes, and 6 seconds. 5 other chairs encircle the artist's chair and are open to visitors of the gallery who may choose to sit with him, although there will be no spoken interaction as the audience is expected to stay silent. All there is the phenomenological experience of sitting near or next to someone and the passing of time. Typical to the nature of Ivan's work, dichotomous themes are present. A performance, which is usually defined by movement, is characterized this time by non-action and contemplation. The role of artist and viewer is therefore interchangeable, as the artist observes the viewer and the viewer observes the artist. The performance is live but recorded. It is finite, unique, and ephemeral, but at the same time, its recording guarantees its repetition, wide dissemination, and permanence. Through the drama of his performance, Ivan has created a space of pure feeling where the primacy of existence comes to the fore. In sitting still, the artist himself was able to observe and go through what he defines as the 3 aspects of human experience, which are sensation, emotion, and thoughts. It is an exploration into the meaning of ordinary through simple acts and interactions that make one conscious about being. Ivan continues his foray into performance art in his 2018 project, Hymen. Here, the artist delves into the purposely hidden issues of the biological and social meanings behind female bleeding, once again breaking artistic and social boundaries. The project's bold title, Hymen, addresses the membrane which, contrary to popular belief, only partially closes the vagina and whose presence is traditionally taken to be a mark of virginity. Stimulating female bleeding, Ivan pours small tubs of red paint through a green construction net, allowing it to slowly drip through and stain a numbered diapered cloth canvas below. He repeats this 10 times, adding a layer of construction net, each one thicker than the last, on top of one another, as well as adding changes to the paint color, going from pure red to 90% black red at the 10th layer, thus symbolizing the oxidation of blood during menstruation. Through these repeated acts, he confronts the suppressive mechanisms of female blood that have been built up over the centuries that invoke the way both men and women alike think of female bodies, questioning the constructed body politics around female bleeding. As many religious and cultural beliefs of the female blood is perceived with negative connotations, for example, the menstrual blood being linked to the curse of Eve, God's punishment for Eve's role in the biblical fall. By having the paint always able to seep through the nettings of his performance piece, it shows how the nets we have perceived and constructed for ourselves is in actuality false. The net is thus a symbol of how the notion of the menstrual blood being dirty or negative should change, where it is seen not as a deviative but natural. Through the Hymen project, Ivan has also come to realize that as a father, the veil of protection constructed around his daughters is fragile, and more often than not, the veil turns their womanhood invisible, and rather than protect, it distorts the perception of their own bodies. Hymen is Ivan's bold undertaking of an analysis of one's own beliefs and working methods, allowing himself to be open and fall through the net openings, daring to take a new path. In both aforementioned projects, with the use of the wooden folded chairs in Curating Human Experience 6666 and the green construction nets in Hymen, Ivan references back to the tradition of the ready-made, an artistic concept spearheaded by Marcel Duchamp. In doing this, he therefore delves into and challenges the notions around authorship and the appropriation of old artifacts. These can also be seen explored in his 2019 Faux series, where Ivan challenges us to look beyond the image, beyond the superficial immediacy of what our perceptions dictate. Through this series, he asks questions of what is real, what is artificial, what is the symbolic meaning we attribute to icons and objects. Faux is Ivan's examination of contemporary practices today, specifically its relevance in this modern era. In the series' process of creation, the painting of flowers seen in each piece were initially arranged by his mother for Sunday church. These were then photographed casually by his sister and uploaded to the family's WhatsApp group. From there, they were finally painted onto the canvas by Ivan. He never viewed the original flower arrangement, only ever seeing them via his sister's photograph. Guided by that, Ivan set about creating his own reproduction of the image, adding in his own elements by elevating the painting into a diptych and juxtaposing the flowers against an astoundingly realistic copy of different types of marble stone. In staying true to what he saw in the images of the flower arrangements presented to him, Ivan had to de-skill and unlearn all that his art practice had taught him thus far. The idea behind this therefore calls into question the authorship of the works, as well as what gives an object its meaning. However, one could say that the first time Ivan stepped into these explorations of authorship and appropriation was with his 2013 installation Compendium of Malaysian Art, 38500. The installation incorporates a working vending machine, which Ivan imported from Japan, along with 38 individual artworks in perspex. Depicting the idea of consumerism, Ivan subtly questions societies with the question, what if art was to turn into a commodity? Being the first featured Malaysian artist for Art Basel Hong Kong in 2013, Ivan wanted to challenge the ecosystem of the art world. The concept of this artwork speaks much about the nature of collecting as it does about art production. Sealed in perspective boxes, each artwork is carefully placed in the vending machine, thus shifting the boundary of art to commodity. The vending machine inherently vends products for consumption. In vending art, what does that say about how we view art in the context of an art fair? An art fair is, in effect, a large vending machine where, with enough money, one can attain one's desired work of art. His project 38500 thus parodies such a space and puts a spin on conceptions around the value of art and consumer immediacy. Ivan's theory is that he finds if someone pays with money, then sometimes art and necessities lose their meanings. The fact that a machine is vending art suggests symbiotic connections with the purchaser and the art. Moving forward, the project also explores the notion of authorship. Usurping his own spotlight as a featured artist, Ivan reached out to over 2,000 Malaysian artists, hoping to stock his vending machine with a collection of 500 original Malaysian art pieces. Sharing the stage in a rather generous gesture, Ivan wanted this project to represent Malaysia and the creative talent and diversity of the nation. Hence, the name Compendium, which means a collection of Malaysian art, Koma. The choice to make this project stemmed from Ivan's reasoning that artists are deemed equal with the same stature, creed, age, and reason. All are equally invited, produce work of the same size, and those represented are paid the same amount of money for their work. It was a non-hierarchical approach that aimed to challenge and disrupt the fundamental status quo that art only exists within the closed loop of elitism. However, as the final title of the art installation suggests, the altruistic intentions for the project faced extensive resistance and backlash from many of the invited Malaysian artists. Out of the 2,000 artists reached, only 38 in total participated in the end. As Ivan said himself in an interview with writer and curator Gina Fairley on the challenges Coma 38 500 faced, "I was like a doe-eyed, naive schoolboy innocently thinking that all artists will connect with my vision for this project. Oh boy, was I in for a rude surprise. Everyone had a say, an opinion. Everyone wanted to be the defender or vanguard of Malaysian art. As much as I wanted this project to unite Malaysians, regardless of age, creed, race, status, representations, these are the exact things that worked against the project, reiterating camp-like divides." From this, the name of this installation also reflects Lam's vigorous opinion on art in Malaysia. The title Coma is akin to the spirit of the piece, symbolizing the psyche of the art scene in Malaysia. It's alive but brain dead and needs a shot of adrenaline to wake up. But will it wake up? Ivan is voicing his concerns to pick it back up, stating, "I want to be proactive and reactive about it, rather than be dead and accept fate. If you can't bring the world to Malaysian art, then bring Malaysian art to the world." And this is an intention he is determined to push forward with each new series he creates, always conscious to subtly embed Malaysian contexts, symbolisms, and politics into his works. His quadriptych, The Death of a Nation, The Birth of a Nation, is a political commentary on national identity and race relations in Malaysia, stemming from a remark about the race column that has been a dominant fixture in government official forms in Malaysia. Being conditioned to checking the race box and defining oneself as either Malay, Chinese, Indian, or other, Malaysians have grown indifferent to the implications posed by this question. With this piece, Ivan challenges that question, examining what constitutes a Malaysian and whether one race is more Malaysian than the other. The Death of a Nation, The Birth of a Nation is thus Ivan's continued belief that as Malaysians, we are all equal regardless of race, creed, and religion. Following this, Ivan's interactive sculptural piece, A U-Turn, depicts his viewpoint of the nation's history making a U-turn, with its political situation going back to what it used to be, one full of broken promises and unfulfilled obligations. The sculpture consists of a bowl placed on a stack of posters, which in turn is placed above a scale. Each poster represents a manifesto of the current government. The quantity of the posters corresponds to the exact number of days that the current government has been in office, with the countdown starting from the beginning of the exhibition. It reminds us of the bygone days where actions have still not been taken to fulfill the promises made by the new government. Visitors are invited to take a poster each and in return to put something within the bowl. The decreasing weight of the scale throughout the course of the exhibition is akin to an urgent call for us to shed our apathy and care about what's happening to our nation. And this critical call to action is carried through to his latest exhibition, The Soil on Which I Bleed. The title of the exhibition, an English translation of the line Tanah Tumpahnya Darahku from the nation's national anthem Nagaraku, meaning my country. With these latest trilogy of works, Ivan presents us three main oeuvres through which he collapses the boundaries between two contexts, his country and himself, raising fundamental questions that encourage us to reflect on what it means to be a citizen of a nation. Throughout the global pandemic of 2020, we have inevitably witnessed the fall of our healthcare systems, economy, and government, yet as citizens, we are often placed at the periphery, acting merely as observers. Ivan thus encourages us to keep soldiering on, bringing back his motive of a rifle in MCO, Master Control Operator, serving as a wake-up call to keep on fighting and come together as one. Dark Side of the Moon presents the moon as a centerpiece. In Malaysia, the lunar calendar is known to the Islamic, Chinese, and Hindu societies. Therefore, symbolically to Ivan, the moon preserves a certain uniting power. However, in contrast to this, lines divide the painting into 222 squares, each one either blue or brown, referring to the number of the Member of Parliament in Malaysia, each one representing an area. These squares subtly embedded into the painting therefore reflect the recurring opposition between the government and its people, symbolizing how the government tries to keep its people divided, cutting through the unifying moon. From this, the message of Ivan calling for us to remain united becomes clear. And this aspiration can be further gleaned from the painting Nagaraku, where Ivan mimics the visual of a stone chart and, borrowing the style of a naturalist, he paints his different types of stone down to their most realistic details. Each piece of stone reserves its own character, compelling in its unique shapes, and are labeled in a way that each piece represents one state of Malaysia, seen as separate entities. Yet at the same time, the circular arrangement of the stones allows us to see the states as a whole, as one nation. It is only by looking at all the states as one society that we would be able to sense the strength of Malaysia as one nation. At the lower part of the canvas, 3 stones are arranged in a line. The first stone represents ourselves as individuals, whilst the second stone represents family as the first social group that we are born into, and the third one symbolizes community as a social environment that you encounter outside of the household. Echoing Mahatma Gandhi's statement, "If you want to change the world, start with yourself," the artist included these 3 aspects that demonstrate the idea that we must make compromises within our closer circles before we are able to make a change to a country or a place. Through his paintings, Ivan attempts to switch the mindset that nothing seems to fall under our control. He engages critically by embedding his commentaries in response to the national and global issues that have surrounded us during the pandemic, through the use of symbolism and metaphors in his paintings. From stones that represent 13 states of Malaysia, a rifle that reminds the artist of the lockdown, to the moon as a symbol of unity. His works put us as individuals at the center of it all, emphasizing the moral and collective power that we hold to spark a difference. The soil on which I bleed is thus a culmination of the artist's sentiments during and perhaps even before the pandemic, his yearning for better days. As we naturally move forward, day by day, Ivan hopes for us to forge ahead, collectively striving to create a better future, both for ourselves and the generations to come.